Welcome trainers to another video. Today a bit more of a topical discussion as we dive into ranked, and I want to talk about some of the philosophies behind the current rank system, why that makes it feel so bad, particularly for good players, but also I want to provide some potential solutions. And I just think it's one of those things that the more people know about these things and recognize them, maybe the more likely that people will be talking to the producers and we can get things changed. But as it stands right now, I think the ranked gameplay is just really terrible, particularly the higher you climb. And the biggest overall reason for this, which kind of all of my points lead to for the most part, is that we have low skill players in high ranks because of how the system actually lets you move up and rank up based on a couple of factors. So let's just jump in. I have 5 points of suggestions for TiMi Studios, so that's why this video is titled Dear TiMi. Hopefully they'll see it. You can maybe share it, let people know what you think about this. But I'll start with what I would think would be the least impactful changes all the way to the biggest changes at the end of the video. So very first off, I think you could remove performance points. Performance points are those little diamonds or pips you receive after you play enough games and you get your performance points for doing various things in the game like scoring. Now, here's a couple problems with performance points. Off the bat, it's not a terrible system. You see a lot of games, whether it be trading card games like Hearthstones to other MOBAs, having some sort of performance-based system. So I don't think it's terrible on its own, but one of the biggest problems I think with the performance system in Unite is that it actually rewards sometimes bad gameplay because of its how heavily it skews scoring. And obviously that's not a bad thing. You want to score. At the end of the day, if your team scores, that's good. But the problem is it incentivizes players that don't understand the game to go score while the rest of your team is doing a Dreadnought fight or a Zapdos fight, for example. It doesn't correctly articulate to players how you actually win games. And so there's players out there looking at their performance score. They're saying, I did all these great things. I scored 200 points. I did all these things that I'm getting all these performance points, which has helped me win games. And so my biggest complaint with the performance system is that it rewards poor play. So I think either adjusting in a way that makes it a little more obvious what needs to happen. Like if you got huge performance point bonus for KOing a Dreadnought, that already would start to make a shift in players' behavior, I think. So like I said, a performance-based system is not the worst thing ever. Lots of games have it, but I think it's also adding to the fact that we have inflated ranks in this game. And so I think the game would actually just be better without it in general. But like I said, it's one of those things that it makes you feel good when you see your score or your rank not go down after you lose because you had enough performance points. And the game's whole philosophy that the developers have chosen to go with as far as ranked is it's a dopamine-based system to keep you playing because you're getting to rank up whether you're a good player or not. And performance points are one piece of that puzzle. Now the second puzzle and my second thing that I think just should not exist in the game at all is bot matches. So I don't know if you know this or if you've caught up to it yet, but there's certain ways in this game to trigger a bot match, which means you and 5 other real players will be teamed up against 5 really bad AI bots. You can know the AI are bots if in the pregame screen, whenever you see all 10 characters going to be in the game, if you click on their trainer profile, they will all 5 have the same pose, and it will be kind of weirdly zoomed in where it looks a little bit blurry, and all 5 of them will have different looking characters but in the exact same pose. So that's your first tip. The second thing you'll notice in the match, the players are really bad. The enemies are going to run at you hyper aggressively. They're not going to get farm, and they're going to be underleveled, and you're just going to murder them. And they will just constantly do that the whole game. They're going to run at you, they're going to die, and you're going to be able to score until the 5-minute mark where they surrender, exactly at 5 minutes. So if you see those things happening, you're just getting a free win because the game sees you've lost a couple matches and they want you to feel good about yourself. So they're going to give you an easy match where you can get 15 kills and get a free win, but you're climbing ranked. This is the problem. It's not that that is a bad system, maybe even for standard matches, but when you put this into a ranked environment, it means that no matter what your win percentage, if you play enough games in this game, you can get to the highest rank, which sounds fun and it might keep some people playing. But here's my biggest argument against this kind of system. If we want Unite to last for a long time, like I do, I think in the day of esports and YouTube and Twitch, the backbone of a game lasting a long time is good esports and or good content creation. And all of those people are going to be spending tons of time playing this game, getting very good at it. And so if your best content creators and your best esports players don't enjoy the game unless they're in a closed environment like a tournament, or if they're having to queue up 5-on-5 with just their friends, that limits your experience and ability to play the game in a good way. And so I would argue that while I understand the philosophy of wanting people to have fun and be at a high rank so that they feel good, for the overall health, that is just a bad decision. I think that's a good decision for today. It might keep someone playing for a few extra days, but it's sort of an empty reward. And in the long term, it hurts the overall state of the game, where I think it's actually going to lose them money in the long term. So I understand the philosophy of being the game where everyone can reach masters so that more people are happy and they stay playing longer so they potentially spend more money. But if you're killing the esports scene and content creators hate the game and they have to make videos talking about how much rank sucks, because that's what we're seeing a lot of right now, then that hurts the game just as much as someone being in the rank they should be in, if that makes sense. So those two both deal with inflated ranks, meaning that players are in higher ranks than they should be, so that the players that should be in those ranks are not having a good time. Third, I think maybe this will change with the mobile release, but right now access to communication, like verbal communication, comms, is just not really existent on the Switch, even though they say it is a feature. So I think just allowing a little bit easier access to comms would be a good thing for the competitive nature of the game, being able to communicate with these teammates that maybe just don't understand the game, like people that have scoured the internet for all the tips and tricks and tactics have. Now, I will say this one I'm less sure of if it's actually a good idea for the overall health of the game. I think Pokemon Unite is great in the sense that it has a bit of a high skill cap or high ceiling, but can also be super fun for a parent and a kid to play together, or for someone to introduce their boyfriend or their girlfriend to the game. So really new players, I think, are playing this game and hopefully having a great time. And I do think that comms could put that in jeopardy, because the internet as a whole can't really be trusted. You never know who you're going to get teamed up with. I wouldn't want a new player that I'm introducing to the game to be paired up with some person that thinks they know it all, that is rude, maybe cusses them out for not going to a objective that they should be going to. So comms, I could go 50-50 this way. I think it's better for the really competitive players that can handle it, but just like anything, it could be abused and potentially hurt the game as well. So I'm not sure. What do you guys think about comms? Let me know in the comment section. Now, fourth and fifth, I think I have two things that would drastically improve the gameplay. This next one, this is mostly once you get to higher ranks, but I think it would make a big shift in the way people feel, that particularly content creators are feeling about this because they're spending so much time. I just think people need to be able to derank out of Masters. It's a really simple solution. Right now, I think about 40% of players are in Masters, which means there's really no top tier place to be within Masters unless you're specifically queuing up with a 5-man team and you're going up against other 5-man teams really trying to grind the ranked ladder. In Masters, there's no way to really tell where you're at, because everyone can get to Masters if you have even like a 40% win rate. So just allowing people to derank out of Masters would also do one other thing. As a player that got stuck for a long time in Ultra, it was really frustrating to play with Masters players who might be running super off-the-wall strategies because there's no risk to them. If they're not worried about losing their Masters rank other than dropping down a few number points, then they might be taking, slow bro to the jungle because they feel like it. They might be saying, I'm just going to score 400 points this game with Crustal and see if we win or not. I'm just going to test the waters. I don't care. There's no reason for them to do that. So I think allowing players to derank out of Masters would solve, number one, the problem of playing in Masters feeling terrible because there's players that shouldn't be there matched up with the best players in the world. And it would make the climb, particularly in Ultra, also feel better because you're not getting paired up with players who don't care. And then lastly, this is probably my biggest complaint with the whole game, and it's tough because a lot of these things do make it that beginner-friendly game that I was talking about that I do appreciate about the game. I think that it's awesome that it's beginner friendly, but there are so many comeback mechanics that actually punish you for playing good and reward you for playing poorly. So I'll name just a few, and I think even just getting rid of some of them would be great. Zapdos by itself, to me, is a great comeback mechanic. But the problem is, if you play well, you're punished at the Zapdos fight, lowering your chances to win, or at least making it so that every match by Zapdos is still about a 50-50 shot for either team, regardless of whether or not the other team played better. And that's not a good spot to me for the game to be. Now, if I'm on a team and 5-on-5 across the board, we are getting outplayed by our opponents, I don't really want to be able to win most of those games. But because of things like a longer respawn timer based on your level is a problem. So if we hit that 2-minute mark, let's say there's been an enemy jungler who has carried the whole game, but we get lucky, get an early stun on this Greninja, we're able to KO him before the rest of his team gets there. He now has like a 45-second respawn timer because he's level 15 and our level 12s knocked him out, but our level 12s only have a 15-second timer to come back in. So we can all get back to the match and steal Zapdos from this team because he made one mistake, even though he outplayed us for the rest of the 8 minutes of the game. So I think that's terrible. Another one. If you kill Dreadnought just before Zapdos, your team actually has a damage debuff on Zapdos. So I don't remember how long the debuff lasts, but you actually do 50% less damage to Zapdos for like a minute after you kill Dreadnought. So obviously if you snatch a Dreadnought at like 2 minutes and 5 seconds before it disappears, you're now at a disadvantage. You're not even really supposed to kill Zapdos at that point, which if you're behind in the game is terrible because you have to kill Zapdos, and even if you're ahead, it makes it so that you can't clutch out and secure the game other than just playing defense. Another one, if you get behind on levels, you'll notice a little orange experience bar by your experience. And this is sort of built up experience for losing the game. And it just gives you free experience for being bad. So overall, this comes back to that problem of why is that such a bad thing? And it's because there's no skill variance to winning and losing, or at least a player that is infinitely better is always going to win. But whenever, let's say I'm a better player than my opponent and I should win 7 out of 10 matches. It's a 70-30 split just based on our skill. With all of these mechanics in the game, it's probably something like 55-45, regardless of me being quite a bit better player than this other person, because there's so many comeback mechanics. And regardless of not even getting into the 5v5 dynamics where you don't know who your teammates are, just let's say a team with this dynamic, a team has 70% chance to win. All of these mechanics make it so, because you can just snipe a Zapdos and get lucky, and you can go and dunk it, or because getting a higher level is a bit of a punishing thing to you, then really it means that players are winning games that they shouldn't be at the end of the day. This is the problem. Players are getting to higher ranks than they should be. We have a super inflated Masters numbers. There should be a limited amount of players in Masters, at least by players deranking, or literally a number that says once you reach this, you can drop out if you don't keep playing. And so it makes the ranked experience terrible. And I think that's the saddest thing because the game is really fun. I could look at this, and if the ranked system got fixed, I could see myself playing this game for a couple of years fairly consistently. It's a really solid, fun game. But there's such a problem here in this game because of the rank system. So you guys let me know what you think in the comment section. What's been your experience of ranked? Do you agree or disagree with my thoughts and comments? One other thing, you've noticed the footage in the background is all from other streamers while I'm getting my laptop work done. And so I'll leave the description links to all of those people that you can see. So let me know what you think. I hope your next battle is your best one yet, and good luck out there, my friends.